my relationship with money didn't change because I suddenly made more money. It changed because I changed my habits. Today, I'm going to talk about three of those habits that I changed that changed my relationship with money. First one is actively checking my accounts. Now, if you're new to my channel and you don't know this story, so I'm going to share it. And if you're not new, you're probably tired of hearing it, but oh well. I think there's power in repetition, and you should hear it one more time. But I grew up with a bad relationship with money, and that transcend throughout my entire life up until at least 5 years ago, when I just got tired of living in the same loop, in the same cycle, and just not getting ahead, not making any progress. So even though I grew up in my home, and when I was a child, I didn't know that my family didn't have money because I was never hungry. I had a roof over my head. Things seemed good. When I went to primary school and high school, that's when I started to notice there was a difference. When all I could eat was the pot food. If you're a Jamaican, you'll definitely know what I'm talking about. But all I could eat was the pot food, and everybody else was eating whatever they wanted. I remember when a cup of cup soup was a luxury. The first time I saved up and buy one of those at primary school, I felt like I was on the same level with everybody. Honestly, every time I think about these stories and share them, it cracks me up because when you're hearing you say something out loud, it's different than when it's just in your head. But yeah, I was so excited when I could buy a cup of cup soup and I would share with my brother and we would have such a good time. Cup soup. Imagine that. And also not just that, but even the tuck shops that were on the roadside, we couldn't really buy food from them, but there was this one vendor who would always, even though I didn't have all of the money to pay for it, she would give me the food because I would just be short like a little, and I would take it from my brother and we eat and have a good time. When I went to high school, same thing. Pad food was the thing, right? And some days I wanted to try the jerk chicken and fries that this famous jerk chicken person was selling out there, and I had to do the same thing, save up my money to buy it, and that's how I would get it. So that's when I started to realize that there are different levels. We are not on the same playing field. And it didn't really bother me, but I didn't really know why. And because as I've grown up, I started to realize what I've internalized about money. This is when I realized that I was picking up on things without actually being told. Money was not talked about in my house. There was no discussion about how we should spend money. There was nothing that was taught, but I caught all of the avoidance, all of the bad habits, and just this frank statement. I saw my dad working nonstop every day, and he would never have money and would always be miserable. So I internalized, you're not gonna have money, you're gonna have to work really hard, and you're gonna always be miserable. That's just my thought process as a kid. And so I did not care about money. I didn't care to learn, I didn't care to understand. I didn't even care to have it. And I remember having a conversation 5 years ago with a colleague, and he was just opening my eyes to some things. And that conversation did not necessarily change my mind, but I remember walking away from that conversation feeling extremely small. And I knew something had to change, but that was just the start of it. Went through college, took out debt, and just taking out this debt is really when I actively started avoiding my accounts. Like, I was looking at it for the first year, but because I was only able to make the minimum payments, I saw that there was no dent in this amount. And so I just got so discouraged. And for 3 years, I just did not check on it at all. After being in the cycle of just working jobs after jobs after jobs that I did not like, I just knew something had to change, and it wasn't going to change if I did not change it. I didn't know what to do. So I just literally started opening my accounts and just looking at it. I just looked at it. I just looked at it day in, day out until I became comfortable looking at it. And now I am a professional money stalker because I literally am going to look in my account like I'm expecting to see something that's not there or whatever the case. But I am no longer afraid of it because I started to do it so much that it just became a part of me. And who would have thought me checking in sparked how, and just being curious about how I can change my situation is what actually led me to creating a plan to get out of debt in a year. So when you're actively checking it, because I was actively checking it, it helped me to not be afraid of the money anymore, not be afraid of the number, and to actually create a plan to change my situation, which ultimately changed my relationship with money. All right. So if you are avoiding looking at your numbers just because you don't want to face what's there, I can promise you it's not as bad as it seems, and you have to face it to get over it. So the longer you avoid, the longer you're delaying your progress. Let that sink in. This next one is planned spending. So I talked in my video yesterday where I was talking about some of the reasons why people stay stuck financially. And I talked about the fact that I would go to the grocery stores and I would have anxiety when I go up to the cashier. And I honestly believe, even though I'm not in that space anymore, I don't like shopping, probably because my body and my mind still remembers those very anxious moments. But I would not check my accounts, so I don't know how much money I have in there. But I am wondering if it's enough, and I'm kind of desperate for it to be enough because I didn't want to be embarrassed in front of this long line of people who are going to hear that my card is declined, or hear that I have to see that I have to take stuff out my card, or hear that I cannot pay for my stuff. And so I would just get so anxious going up to the cash registers every single time because either I spent money out of sequence, and when I actually needed to spend that planned money, I didn't have enough, or I was just trying to buy something that I frankly couldn't afford, not really because I wasn't making money, but because I wasn't paying attention to the money to see where it was going. Because I've always been working extremely hard, and it just felt like basic necessities were a struggle to attain. So I was probably just making emotional spending. Whenever I felt sad, I would buy some ice cream. If I wanted something, I would buy it. And I wasn't really planning for things. Like, I knew I had my essential bills to cover, but it wasn't a case where, okay, this is what I'm spending and this is what I'm planning for. Things would just come up and I would just take them as they go. And in life, things are going to come up and we kind of just have to take them as they go. But that's why we have to have an emergency fund, which I talked about that video. Actually, I think that video is something that you definitely should watch because there are so many things that I touched on as to why people are staying stuck in their situation. And it's definitely something for you to see so you can identify if you're doing any of those things. So you can go check that video out after you watch this one. But yeah. So there was just a lot of impulse buying and things that were just not planned. And because of those spending habits, I just never had enough money. And so it just proved my point even further that there's no need to try with money. All right. So since I started actually creating a plan, having a budget, and just actually knowing when I'm going to buy something and actually planning it out before I make the purchase, I don't feel anxious. Like, whenever I know exactly the amount of money that's in my account, so I know if I can afford something or not. So then I know I don't need to go somewhere that I cannot afford at this moment, or I know that I'm not going to be embarrassed when I go up to the cash register because at the end of the day, I know where I am at, right? And that is why awareness is so important, because the moment you know where you're at, you kind of don't put yourself in certain situations and you actually know where what you need to, where you're at, then you can figure out what you need to do to get to where you're trying to go. All right? This next one, oh my God, it's actively practicing delayed gratification. If somebody told me that inserting delayed gratification into your life is one of the most underrated wealth hack and just life hack in general, I would have probably said that they were lying. But because I had this experience for myself, I know it's a fact. I know you all listen to Ariana Grande, and she said she wanted, and so she buy it, right? I don't know if I'm butchering this lady's song, but I think she said, I wanted, I bought it, or something like that. And because you think that you should buy it just because you want it, you're just buying everything just because you want it. As you feel the urge to get something, you already pulled out your card, not even realizing that because you're just spending so much impulsively, you are delaying your progress. You're actually delaying your long-term peace for short-term gain, which is exactly what I was doing. And I talked about this before. I wasn't making any irrational, like, outrageous spending. I just wasn't being intentional about my money. So I just want to put that out there. It wasn't like I was just out here dropping, buying bags, shoes, all those things. I didn't even have money to buy the bags and the shoes. But I just wasn't paying attention to what was happening and where the leaks were, and just how much I need to get my debt under control and just not have it control me. So I just wasn't being intentional about the steps that I needed to take. But whenever I want something right now, I literally have time between if I decide I'm gonna buy it. And that is really what delayed gratification is. It's inserting time, distance in between the emotion of you wanting something and when you actually decide to make the purchase. I want to tell you that you may not even want that thing anymore. The fact that you distance yourself from it, it no longer became just a need. It became a want, and not every want you're going to fund in a moment when you're trying to build a life that you desire. Right? There are some things that you just have to put off. When I decided that I was going to clear off my debt within a year, I had to double my payments, which means I had to give up a lot of things that I wanted just so I could achieve this goal, because I realized that on this path that I'm on, I'm really damaging myself because I have to be staying in spaces that don't serve me just to make some dollars. And that's not the type of life that I'm trying to live for myself. And I'm sure that's not the type of life that you want either. And so when you practice delaying the time between you buying something that you even want, you're training your muscle, you're building your discipline, and you literally are saving money because you may not even want it as much as you think you do. And this is not just about money. This is something that you can apply to every single area of your life. Because I promise you, it's one of those things that will get you to where you're trying to go. You just have to be practicing it. All right? So, if you take these 3 things I've mentioned: actively checking your accounts, planning your spendings, and practicing delayed gratification, I can guarantee you that you're going to change your life. I can guarantee you that you're going to change your money. I don't know your exact situation, so I cannot say your exact results will be this or that, but I know they work. And if you want to see if they work or not, try me on it and let me know in the comments what your results are, right? If you are ready to change your life and you don't know where to start, you are as clueless as I was 5 years ago. You hear I say all of these things and it sounds fancy and you think I am just so great at it, and I never had any struggles and I just figured it out. That's a lie, by the way. But if you just need somebody to walk alongside you along this journey, to help you develop a good relationship with money and to get you to that next level and to give you accountability and structure, that's why I created my 30-day reset. So if you're ready to take that step, the link will be in the description below. You can check it out and I'll be happy to walk with you for the next 30 days, because I promise you, the moment you decide to change your life is the time when your life is going to change. All right, so if I said anything that you found interesting tonight, please drop it in the comments. Please consider subscribing. Share this video with anybody who you think it can benefit. If you are new to my channel, welcome. I am Khrista-Lee and I talk all things investing in you. And follow me on all social media platforms. My Khrista-Lee on TikTok, Instagram, and Facebook. And I'm actually going to go live on TikTok tonight. So if you want to hear more of this conversation and ask me any questions that you don't want to drop here, you can come hang out with me over there. And yeah, I'll see you in the next one tomorrow. Until then, let's go make some mistakes. Bye.